What's up, guys? This is Kephas.
Classic Fresh is here, and I, along with many other people, are jumping in ready to relive the Classic journey yet again. It's so much fun, and I'm always happy to return to Classic. And I don't know how you guys start things off, but what I like to do is I like to make one of each class, maybe a mix of Alliance and Horde characters, and then just level up what I'm feeling at the time. I don't really rush through the game. I don't pick one and get to like max level or whatever. I just play what I'm feeling, and just it's a casual, chill experience for me. That's what I like to do. And it got me thinking about like what classes I tend to gravitate towards, which ones I think are more fun and less fun. And so I thought I would do the same thing that I did for modern WoW and do a tier list on the classes in classic WoW and rank them based on which ones I think are the most fun down to the least fun. So that's what we're going to do here today. And hey, it's just my opinion. Try to keep that in mind. Opinions can't hurt you. It's okay if your opinion is different. And hey, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Let me know where you would put these classes. Which ones do you think are the most fun? Which ones do you think are the least fun? If there's an angle of a class that I'm missing, by all means, let me know. But again, this is just my experience. I'm a casual player that just enjoys leveling up in classic WoW. I don't do a lot of in-game stuff particularly. So I'm thinking of this mostly from the perspective of someone just leveling up a character and just trying to have some fun. Okay, so no big deal, just here to have a chat. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into this here. And we're going to start with Druid. And I have to say, for me, I want to put Druids right in the middle. I actually think Druids are a pretty decent baseline because there's a lot of fun to be had with a Druid. You know, you have a lot of options, you have a lot of variability in terms of like what kind of play style you want to engage with. I mean, you start off with, you start off as a kind of a caster, then you get bear form you can do, eventually you'll get cat form and you can be a little bit more quick with the cat DPS. You can do boomkin as well, that's also fun. So you get a lot of variety with it. And also I think the class quests really stand out for me with Druids. I've never forgotten them, even like for all the years I didn't play classic WoW, like before classic came out. I remember doing the Druid class quests. They were really fun, and unlocking the different forms is really cool. And then it's just very rewarding. You know, you have things to look forward to. Unlocking different forms and trying out different things is a lot of fun. I think that for me, it's just kind of, it's a little slow. It's not the worst by any means, but it is a little tough. And I don't particularly enjoy playing cat form, which is kind of what you kind of feel like you have to play to really, make some progress. So that kind of holds it back for me a little bit. Like, I think that like the big thing here with Druid is like, for some people, it's going to be a lot of fun. And for some people, it's not going to be much fun at all, depending on your perspective. For me, I'm kind of in the middle. I can play one. I will play one. I like playing them. And like, I like the options. I kind of want to try boomkin a little bit more and see what I think about that in classic WoW. But for the most part, it's solid for sure. But I think there are classes that are much more fun. And I also think there are classes that are much less fun. That's just kind of where I stand on it. Then we move into what I think is just my favorite class in classic WoW, and that's the Hunter. And I know everybody plays a Hunter. I know it's the easiest. There are so many people that play them. People get sick of seeing so many Hunters, and I get it, but there's a reason why. It is the easiest class for sure, and it has the appeal of having a pet which you can tame in the world. And I think that part of it is the fact that it's easier for sure, and it does provide a more smooth leveling experience. Whether you're leveling by yourself or with a group, it's just very smooth. You do have some really cool utility with the Hunter, but you do also have this very unique interaction with the game and with the world, with taming a pet, keeping that pet happy, taming other pets to learn unique abilities. You also have to keep your quiver full, so you're keeping your ammo stocked up. That kind of stuff all plays into this really fun experience that I personally enjoy. It's part immersive and part just very smooth and engaging in a way that I think is a lot of fun. So I don't think it's fair to say that it's just because it's easy. That is part of it for sure, but it's also because it's immersive and it's engaging. And I think that's what really appeals to a lot of people when playing the game. It's nice to tame your own pet that you find in the world, name that pet, and run through the game with that pet. That is a very fun and engaging experience, and also taking care of it and stuff. So yeah, I think there's a lot to a Hunter that's fun and enjoyable, and I really enjoy playing a Hunter. And there's a reason why that goes beyond just the fact that it's easy. So I want to make sure that's understood, and I think that plays into a big part into why I like playing a Hunter. Next, we have mages, and there would have been a time where I would have put much lower for mages, but I actually had to put it in a solid A for me. I think that I could potentially even put Mage in S tier, but I'm gonna put it in A because, you know, like honestly, it's mainly just that like single target isn't particularly fun. It's just hit one button and then you're good, and it does a lot of damage is what's funny. Like, it's crazy how strong mages are considering how easy they can be to play, which can be appealing for a lot of people. I mean, I don't like things to be particularly difficult, so that's fine, but where mages really shine, aside from just having a lot of cool abilities to use, is the AoE grinding. When you get to where you can start grinding, you know, mobs with AoE, it can get really fun. And I actually think that AoE leveling as a mage is some of the most fun you can have in the game, maybe even more fun than a hunter in a lot of ways. So if you get to that point, you can really start enjoying leveling up your mage and having a good time. And then you get to endgame and you're a pretty sought after class. You're really strong. It's not particularly challenging, so you can have a really good time throughout the entirety of the game in classic WoW with a mage. So yeah, they're a lot of fun. I recommend trying a mage if you haven't before. Once you get the play style down and you're comfortable with it and you get better at it and you get more abilities that improve it, it just gets better and better. So yeah, you really can't go wrong with mage. Next up is paladin, and look, I have a bias. I love playing a paladin. I play a paladin in classic just because I love playing a paladin, but I don't think it's very fun. I'm sorry. I don't think leveling a paladin or playing a paladin in classic is very fun. It gets better in Burning Crusade and it gets better from then on. You're off to the races after classic, but I just do not enjoy the space that paladin is in classic WoW. It's very slow. It's mostly auto attacks while you're, you know, juggling your seals and whatnot. And I don't mind the seals in particular, but really what it really kills me about it is because of like the way mana works and how you drain your mana with like using one spell. You have spells that you can use that you just have to not use because you just drain your mana, and that's not ideal. It's just not fun to sit at low mana while you auto attack. I just don't find that very fun at all, and that's what kills it for me. When you get into like that stage where like it's okay at first in the very first few levels, and then it starts to drag more and more. It does pick up when you get closer to mid leveling, like the mid range. It starts to pick up a little bit when you get like different things, like you get a free mount, which is really cool. Things like that are nice. It's not the worst by any means, but you do feel like you have to hold yourself back a lot, and that stinks. And that's also the case if you play Ret in like a raid setting. You know, you're very useful. You have a lot of utility, but you could also be doing a lot of damage. And so unfortunately you have to hold back your damage to fulfill your role as a utility player. And I don't like that. I just don't think that's very fun. It's not for me. And I think that for people that might enjoy it, maybe it's awesome. But for the most part, like I play a paladin. It's not particularly difficult, but it is slow, you know, and I think that that just really holds it back. You're just auto attacking and it's just not particularly fun to me. So next up we have priests. And I think that for me, I don't know. Priest is also kind of boring. I'm gonna put it in C. It's not quite as boring as Paladin, I guess. But again, it's kind of like the caster version, like where, you know, like whereas a Paladin, you're mostly auto attacking with melee. As a priest, you're doing a lot of wanding. And that kind of feels kind of like it's kind of the same thing, really. Like you do have a lot of cool things. You have okay survivability, and eventually you do get shadow form. Like again, like higher levels up, it starts to get a little bit better, but it is kind of boring. It's just mostly wanding enemies down, you know. So that kind of hurts it a little bit. I think that like if you want to heal, maybe it's better. Like if you have a group of people to run through dungeons with, it might get a little bit better for sure. And then of course at end game, like healing can be pretty fun. You are the healer class, so you have that as well. But for the most part, yeah, it's just kind of like you could play a mage and I think have a lot more fun if you want to level a caster. There are other casters that are just a little bit more fun. But for the most part, you know, it's also not like the worst or particularly difficult. It's just really, really slow. Next up, we have rogues. And again, like, I think that people are going to disagree with me on this one. And I think that part of it's just because I don't particularly like the play style, but I do have to put rogues in C tier for me. I think that like, if you enjoy PvP and world PvP, then you can have a lot of fun with a rogue. But like, they're a bit gear dependent. They're a little bit slow. And like I just don't particularly enjoy the combo point playstyle, especially in classic where you don't carry your combo points over from one target to a next. That can feel kind of ugh. But like they're just kind of like, I just don't really enjoy the play style. I think that again, this is one where other people that do enjoy the play style, this can be a lot more fun. But they're not the easiest. They have a lot of like, I think if you get to where you're really good with a rogue and you really know how to play one, then you know how to deal with things, you know, like in terms of survivability and stuff like that. But there is a bit of a learning curve to it. It's not the easiest by any means, in my opinion. I've never been really good at playing a rogue. But I definitely think that there are people out there that would probably enjoy them more than I do. But it's definitely on the less fun side for me. I would rather, if I'm going to play something like a rogue, I probably would just play a druid and play cat form. Personally, that's kind of how I feel about it. But then we get into shamans, and you know, for all the years that I've played this game, I've never really played shaman much until more recently. I'd say probably in later expansions. And going back to classic and playing a shaman, I was surprised. I really hated that I missed out on this class for so long, and I think shamans are really fun. There's a lot of fun things that you can do with a shaman in classic that sometimes you feel like you probably shouldn't be able to do, like, you know, maybe tanking, like you can do some stuff like that. And like there's just a lot of cool stuff with that, you know. It's very satisfying. To me, it's like a more fun paladin is how shamans kind of feel. I feel like I'm having more fun. I have more things to do. I have more options. You can switch over to from enhancement to elemental if you want to and play a caster. And elemental, I think, is a lot of fun. I think it really excels. But the problem with elemental is that you feel like you have to drink constantly. You're just draining mana like every third or fourth enemy you're having to drink it. That kind of pulls it back a little bit. But overall, you just have a lot of options. I think, again, kind of like with druids, like I remember doing like I think the class quests are very memorable, like doing them in classic, you know, like I had a lot of fun, you know, unlocking different totems and different things like that. I think that's pretty cool. And like I said, overall, I think that it kind of like, it depends on if you like dealing with totems. If you don't like totems, you may not enjoy the class as much. But if you don't mind them, then you can kind of get used to them. It's not so bad. So like I like playing a shaman a lot. It does kind of stink that they are locked, like kind of like with paladins, you know, they are locked to one side. You know, so like if you don't want to play horde, then you don't want to play a shaman. I think that probably is what deters some people. Probably the same with paladin, you know, in some ways. But, I mean, I like playing horde, so it doesn't really bother me at all. Yeah, I can be an orc shaman and have a good time. So, but I do think like, you know, shaman is a lot of fun. If you've never played one before, I recommend giving it a try. I think that it's, you know, it's not like the fastest by any means, but it is really unique and a lot of fun, I think, for sure. Next up is warlock. And I think that for me, warlocks are second only to hunters. I think that warlocks are a lot of fun. I like, again, like with a lot of like the way they interact with the world, you know, it's kind of the same thing with hunters, but just not as like, it doesn't hit the same like vibe that I like with hunters. But like warlocks are really easy because again, you have a pet, you know, you have different pets that you can get. I remember back in the day, warlock was the first class that I was ever able to solo hogger as. So I felt really cool about that. And so like, I think playing a warlock is a lot of fun. You have a lot at your disposal that you can use to keep yourself alive, to just pull a lot of different enemies and just keep going. It can get pretty crazy. You know, managing your soul shards, again, kind of like with hunters, I think it's a really cool interaction with the world. I just think warlocks have a lot that they can do that can be a lot of fun. So I think that warlocks, like I think that mage AoE leveling is a little bit more fun than leveling up as a warlock, but from like beginning to end, I think warlocks are a little bit easier and there's a lot of fun things they can do. Also, unlocking your demons through class quests is very fun as well. I think they're another good set of class quests that you can do that are really rewarding and memorable. So I don't think you can go wrong with warlocks. And I think that like as you're leveling up, you have a lot of things to look forward to, unlocking new demons and just different abilities and things like that. So that definitely is what stands out for warlocks for me personally. Oh boy. Okay. Probably the biggest, like the most controversial for me is warrior. I think that warriors are the least fun class to level up in classic WoW by a lot. They're very hard. And this is the thing though, okay? Because like, it's like, I think that when I get into the right mindset, warrior can actually be a lot of fun. But like, this might sound really stupid, but warrior is kind of like the Dark Souls of classic WoW. in that, like, you know, you don't have a lot of like you don't have a lot of get out of jail free cards. You know, you don't have a lot of survivability. You have to be good. You have to know how to play a warrior, and you have to be, you know, plan things out. You have to kind of know what you're doing. Otherwise you're going to die a lot, and you're probably still going to die a lot. It's just that class, you know, like that's why I say it kind of feels like that. Like if you're looking for that, like, bash your head against the wall kind of challenge, and you don't really know what you're doing, and you want to learn something new, warrior can be that class for you. There is an appeal in a lot of ways to that difficulty. It's not that it's like the worst. It's just that for me personally, it's not something that I want to do all the time. I have to be in the right mind. Like I might be like, you know what, I'm ready to level up a warrior in classic WoW. Then I'm having a little bit more fun. But the class really does live and die on your gear, and having to stay up to date on gear is very important for a warrior. If you're well geared, you're having a better time. If you're not well geared, you're having a really bad time. And so that kind of stands out as well. So like if you want to level one and you don't want it to be super difficult, then what you can do is level up something else and then level up a warrior alt. And if you can bankroll that alt, then it's not so bad. You can keep up with gear a little bit better. That might make things a little bit easier for you. The big thing about the warrior though is like, while it's not particularly fun to level, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it if you want that challenge. And also the payoff is really good, because when you get to like max level, like warriors are very good, and like they're good in group content, they're good in raids, they're just a really good class. You know, you have a lot of different, you know, options, like in, you know, you can tank, you can DPS, like they're just really good in that regard. So it's not that you shouldn't play one, it's just that they're not particularly fun for a very long time. So that's just kind of how I feel about it. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand on this. Pretty good mix here. In terms of my classes, I think that, like, you know, again, it just depends on what you want out of the game and where you stand on it. But for the most part, this is kind of where I feel about it right now. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this in the comments below. What do you think is the most fun? What do you think is the least fun? Where does your opinion differ from mine? It's okay to mention it by all means. Just be respectful. It's okay to have different opinions. But I hope you enjoy this. I had a lot of fun making it, and I'm going to go play some classic WoW. So with all that being said, I will see you guys on the next one.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button. And feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. And if you'd like to see more videos, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook, and if you'd like, you can support my work on Patreon. Links to all that stuff can be found in the description below. This is Kephas. Until next time.